My last place pick definitely has to be Totally Radical by Halo Nova. Nothing in this song works for me on any level. The melodies aren't that interesting, but they aren't completely awful, but the drop is just, it's terrible. Honestly, like, the sound design is some of my least favorite I've heard in a very long time. It's just like the worst screechy kind of ear-bleeding dubstep that Monstercat, like, 2011 had to offer. It's these incredibly obnoxious vocal chops going through the entire thing. It's just not a good listening experience at all, I have to say. So, yeah, this is my first 1 out of 10. I assume of many. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan. So number 14 spot is going to be Another World by Obsidia, and the one thing that I have to say is that the concept of this song is pretty cool. It has spoken word over it about being transported to another world, which is very fantasy, and basically other than that, it doesn't really have much. The drop is not the worst thing ever. It has a little bit of intensity, like taking it from the context that's taken from, which is this era of dubstep, but the melodies are just no interest at all, and it's super repetitive. So any positive it has is basically just like worn out throughout the time you listen to it. So yeah, it's pretty bottom of the barrel. It's very hard for me to not give Dreaming a much worse score, because there isn't much objectively wrong with it, but I cannot stand the singing. It just makes me incredibly angry, just his vocal tendencies, and the melodies are just kind of the worst of that, like, stupid, like, upbeat, inspirational, like, house phase that happened at this time. And honestly, it's not terrible. It's much better than the last two songs, of course, and having a house song in here is much more refreshing than, like, another, like, drudging dubstep song that's 6 minutes long, but, overall, it's still very unenjoyable, no matter how refreshing it is from the rest. I don't really like this song. I'm sorry. My number 12 spot is going to be Metropolis by Stephen Walking, and it's interesting. I can give it that. It's definitely, like, pushing a lot more creative ideas than a lot of the other dubstep songs this era. Like, it's really melodic, but the sound design is really just what puts me off of it, because although other songs are a lot more boring, this one is just, it can be kind of grating at times, just especially with the vocal lines and stuff. I like the 4/4 parts a great deal more than I like the dubstep portions, which that's why I'm playing them now, because the dubstep portions, they're hard to listen to for me, but it's not terrible. I enjoy what I'm playing right now. So my number 11 is going to be Light Pollution by Stephen Walking. And as you can hear, it sounds almost identical to the last one I played. That's my biggest issue with these two songs, is that they sound really similar. But overall, this one's a little bit less obnoxious. Like, the voice lines, the last one pissed me off a lot, but this one is completely instrumental. And it has these really cool, like, metal kind of breakdown drums that drop, where it's like these big kick rolls, like dun 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 dun. And it's just like a little bit more interesting than what was happening before. The screechy dubstep is still there and makes it a lot worse, but as always, I like the 4/4 segments and I like everything else, so it's not the worst. It was a good effort, I can say that. He tried something different, which I appreciate. This song has completely slipped through this list just by being completely mediocre. It's really boring, actually. It sounds super similar the entire way through. This part right here is actually one of the better parts, because it has this really cool, like, detuned respace as, like, the main thing, which is really interesting. There's, like, almond break throughout, which is pretty cool, and the vocal lines, it seems a little bit ahead of its time. This is like I could see, like, I don't know, like Space Jesus or a Bass Nectar type of guy, like, dropping down, like, in 2019, which it's pretty cool that he's so ahead of his time with his sound, but it is pretty repetitive and not the best executed, so, you know, it's pretty average. This song pains me to rank as low as I have to rank it. It's basically for its one fatal flaw, because the melodies, the sound design, especially the bass, is really fantastic here. It sounds like a Rez song, which is crazy because this is like 5-6 years before Rez started making music, so everything here is so ahead of its time, but the issue is it's very long and very repetitive. So if there was some differences between the separate drops and it was shortened about a minute, it would definitely be like a 7 out of 10, 7.5, but it's just difficult to listen to at this point because it's just really boring trying to get through the whole thing. So yeah, mixed feelings. This song is like a very disappointing listen because it's very interesting, and having a trance song like on this album is really cool, but it's just so long and drawn out. And the sound design here is just absolutely awful. Like, the drops are pretty cool, but almost every single sound in this entire song sounds very empty and cheap, and like it should be just like 5 times wider and more filling. And there's never enough happening. Like, I know it's supposed to be minimal, but it's not minimal in the way that's like interesting because how stripped down it is. It's minimal in the way that it's boring because nothing is happening for like 8 minutes in a row. Yeah, pretty solid 6 out of 10. This album is just filled to the brim with songs that I want to be able to love, but I can't. The melody here is just absolutely gorgeous and really dramatic, and if used in a different context, I would absolutely love it, but the drop is just, it's terrible. It's like pre-trap dubstep, but it just sounds like trash. It's really just bland, and it's slow and uninteresting. There's no intensity to it at all, and it's still screechy and very obnoxious, so I really wish that this melody could have gone to to a better artist. Not an artist, I love Ariane, but just like a better song, so I should say, really. Sad. So yeah, this song is, I don't really like it as much as Mailto's last song, but a lot of people really hate the lyrics here because it's very disturbing and rapey, but I like it because it adds like a very story-based element, which a lot of songs from this time don't have. Because like for the beginning, it's like this love story, but near the end, he starts talking about how he's like tying her up in duct tape and like really disturbing stuff. So like this twist, while the song still sounds like very euphoric. So it's like a really cool like juxtaposition. But honestly, I don't know, I just don't love the actual music here. It's a little bit disappointing compared to his last song, so yeah, 6 out of 10 material. So yeah, it's just more kind of underwhelming early drum bass music. I actually like this one significantly less than I liked Faint's last song. The last one had a lot more going on. It had like the guitar and like the pixel stuff, but this one, it has a much more normal like drum and bass aesthetic with all the synths and everything. And it just doesn't work as well for me personally. It's mixed a lot better than the last one, but it's much less interesting, and I'm not a huge fan of the chord progression personally. It doesn't really jump out to me compared to anything else, and even like some of the much lower rated songs do have a lot more interesting ideas they're trying to pull off in this one. I mean, I don't really know where you expected me to rate this, because I am the epitome of a dumb rave kid, but I love happy hardcore, I love this kind of stuff, and just the lead melody is very fun, and all the sampling throughout the track is just, it's bouncing. I enjoy the aesthetic, I think it's pretty well done. There are some parts later on with like pianos and stuff that are a little bit cheesy in my opinion, so if it took that out, it could have been a lot stronger, and it is repetitive, like a lot of songs this time are, and not too complex. But, you know what, it's interesting, and it stands out a lot from the other music on this compilation. So, I enjoy this a lot. It is certainly not the peak of music, but it's just a good tune. I gotta say that. It achieves what it wants to. So, in contrast to the last song, this is actually a very, very good song. It was all over YouTube for a very long period of time, and it sounds very overused to me now. But that's just because it is such a great song. It deserves that overplay because the melodies here is awesome, and it implements that kind of annoying dubstep style in a way that's not so in your face about it, and just it's generally really cool with the old school sampling, and it sounds very differently from the other songs that are made around this period. It's just an enjoyable listen, and it's super timeless too. Like, I can imagine someone making this today and it's still sounding great. Like, the mixing is so much higher quality than many other songs on the label at this point. This song is honestly just wonderful. It's very cool and creative. I really like the sampling of this like half syllables in the beginning. I don't adore the chord progression, but for the context, it actually works pretty well. And the drops are just awesome. It's a very cool, like liquidy drum and bass, where it's super deep and bassy, and it's minimal, but it's not boring. It can like definitely stand on its own and be a really good piece, while not being like very overdone and keeping its kind of aesthetic, which is very, very minimal and stripped down in nature without feeling repetitive throughout the entire thing, and still having a lot of complexity to it. So, great job. It's a good song. So after that very artistic seeming, cool, beautiful song, we have this, which is just an absolute banger. This melody playing in the background right now, it's glorious. It made my mouth actually drop when I first heard it, because it's very throwbacky and like 90s kind of trance wave stuff, but I love that. And the drop itself is just, it's very stupid, but it's that stupid kind of fun that's timeless, that really classic electro feel. And I'm sad that we don't have more of this nowadays, because it's just so fun and really energetic and enjoyable. And yes, Arian is definitely one of my favorite artists of this time period.